Hello, everyone. Welcome into another episode of Behind the Bookbind with me, phoenixrokni, author of the Masterscore series. Today, we're peeling back the layers of Volir, the hidden soul at the center of The Fall of Magic, Book 1 in the Masterscore series. Now, he's not your typical hero, and for me, that was very much by design. So honestly, the spark started with the Lone Warrior archetype, but I knew I didn't want him to just be another silent, isolationist warrior type. Though it does feel that way, I wanted him to feel very real, flawed, grounded, deeply human, even when he was surrounded by so much magic. And from the very beginning, Volir was always meant to be the main character, but you'll come to see that the main character doesn't always mean center stage. As the series unfolds, other vital characters will begin to share the narrative space, and that's very intentional. And though I didn't do that extensively in the first book, you do get to see that with a couple other characters. And in the expanded edition of this book, I will be coming back much later, probably after I get done with the whole series, and really expanding on book 1, giving those other two POVs a lot more time and space, so that you really get to enjoy this story with all the bells and whistles. He does have 2 cats, Angor and Siam. He wasn't originally going to have them, but I realized that they could ground him emotionally in ways that really mattered to me. Without them, I felt that he was going to risk coming across as very cold or arrogant, but that's not at all who he is. The contrast between how others see him and who he really is, that tension really became one of my favorite aspects to explore in the first book. Those 2 companions that I mentioned eventually play a very huge part in the greater story when we talk about those 2 little cats of his. And I'm really excited about them. It's hard for me not to be, because they were both based on 2 of my own cats that I once had, though now may they rest in peace. And they were Spot and Bowser. Let's talk about building his past a bit. We talked a little bit about his origin and a little bit of background into sort of who he is as a character and what I really wanted to focus on with him. But we're going to talk about his past a bit. His backstory is really marked by silence and loss, and there's a bit of a slow burning mystery about that. I did make him an orphan, though, to be fair, he's not the only orphan in this world. There are many people orphaned from the Great War, and he was one of them. He wasn't just orphaned for the sake of tragedy, but because I knew the weight of his loneliness that he'd be carrying, and I needed to go deeper than just circumstance. He's not really just like alone in the world. He's the last of something ancient, something he's only really beginning to understand in this book. His emotional restraint is something that I wanted to showcase as well. And it wasn't just for show. It was more than a quiet hero trope. It was really about survival, almost a sanctity of him safeguarding a space of well-being. It was truly protection for him. And it is a reflection of how he shields himself from the darkness that plagues the world that he lives in and his own mind. So when you read book 1 and you hear about this corruption that I talked about a little bit in the first episode of Behind the Bookbind, the Fade, that mind virus we talk about. When you hear more about that, understanding what that means for him and why that was important to him, hopefully it's something that will show through, even though he will be threatened by it as well. There's quite a bit I didn't really reveal in this book on purpose. There are aspects of his past that are buried. They're painful, but they're very significant, and that will echo louder and louder as the series continues to move forward. I want readers to grow into his story the way he has to himself. Discussing his personality and sort of like his voice and that voice of like inner conflict that he experiences was something I was very careful about. But let's talk about how he speaks, or doesn't. Volir understands the importance of discipline. He's very much grounded in his role as a Knight of the Phoenix, especially when facing the Fade and the Gloom, this creeping force that is preying on emotional weakness. His quiet nature is really a form of armor. It keeps him hidden and it keeps him sane. And I think sanity as a whole is something that is over time being challenged, for it is a way that the Dark Master seeks control in this point in time. Now, in the future, you'll come to learn that evolves drastically to where the Fade isn't just this way of impacting the mind. And as you read book one, you'll understand that. And as you read consecutive books, you will understand so much more about what that actually means. Volir's hesitation to form bonds isn't just a plot. It's a very personal thing. That trait that he embodies, it comes from a place in me too. And I think that it's part of what makes him feel real. He's not shutting people out to be mysterious. He's afraid of what connection can cost. At his core, he is defined by restraint, loyalty, and a power that he's never allowed himself to truly embrace. Now, it's there, and it's dormant, just waiting. And that tension is key to the entire character arc that he will have in the entirety of the series. In discussing some of the relationships that he will experience and some symbolism that I wanted to sew into the threads of this story, yes, we've already talked about him being the way that he is, but this is going to become a problem and also an opportunity. In The Fall of Magic, the people who manage to reach him, who stay, even when he is maybe trying to push them away, specifically think of a certain leader that is pushing him in the beginning of this story, are the ones who become critical to his growth and also allies to him in the future. Without them, he can't be who the world needs him to be. And along the way in his journey, the companions that undertake that task with him are the ones who are going to share a very important place in history. And he is going to need them in a way he can't possibly imagine in the beginning of this story. Now, he does receive a sword in this book. IFA is not only a weapon, it's a symbol. And it hints at sacrifice, silence, and the isolating weight of destiny. And it foreshadows something much larger that's coming, though I don't believe everyone who reads through the first time will truly understand that. Though I did sprinkle little bits of foreshadowing, I feel that they are almost hard to see unless someone is probably really breaking down the story on multiple reads and putting notes in. And I've seen some people that have been doing that, which, by the way, blows my mind a bit in the best way. But moving on, you will see a lot about this reflected, when we talk about his relationships and the symbolism reflected even more in the next book, because at that point, the world has changed and they see him a specific way. IFA is truly a reflection of more than just Auro. It reflects what he's had to give up to become who he is. And that's something he's going to carry with him into the entirety of this series. There are things in The Fall of Magic that many people won't notice on their first read, like I've kind of mentioned already. Small details that hint at Volir's deeper story. Moments where he notices something, but he says nothing or chooses to avoid potential interactions with people. I encourage readers to theorize about him, where he's going, and what's really happening beneath the surface, especially knowing that in book 2, we're going to be following different characters entirely. But with that being said, I'd love to hear your thoughts and encourage you to drop a comment and just let me know, what moments made you connect with Volir. And if it wasn't him that you really connected with, maybe you could talk about who that character was and why. In the next episode of Behind the Bookbind, we'll be digging into one of my favorite characters to write, Lady Anarian of Eden Throbon. She's fierce. She's mysterious in her own way and absolutely pivotal in the future. And though she didn't get as much page time as some people might have hoped for in book 1, rest assured you will be getting much more from her in the expanded edition of The Fall of Magic one day, and so much more from her in future books. If you enjoyed this video, please consider liking, subscribing, hitting the bell notification. I encourage you to join our Discord as well. It's a small community, but it's growing slowly but surely. Thanks so much for watching and being on this journey with me. And as always, may the light guide you. I'll see you soon.